Welcome everybody to the Bass Fug Podcast. My God, super duper special episode today. I'm gonna fuck up his last name and probably his first name. I don't think I've ever really said it. I always just said Laf-o. I'm here with Sławek Kliber.
Yeah, that's great, man.
AKA Laf-o, Breakcore superstar. I am in his studio right now. This is an intimate Bass Fug episode. How are you today, Mr. Laf-o?
I'm pretty good, actually, right now. It's a pretty good time.
You're chilling.
This is pretty cool.
He's got Corona right now, everybody.
Yeah, I have the larger one.
Yeah.
Serious Corona here.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm pumped about this. I've been bugging you for the interview,
It wasn't a bug. I was actually pretty happy to hear it. Actually, honestly, I've never been interviewed in English.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not that I can really remember.
Yeah.
And I've hit my head a number of times, but I think I remember that thing.
Oh, yeah.
I've been interviewed only in Polish.
Really?
Yeah.
For like a TV or?
No.
Magazines
Actually, just the only one that cared was my hometown,
Okay. So yeah, especially in the early ages of the internet, you know?
Well, like, I did do some parties there, and I guess by 2001, when I went to do my third in my hometown, they caught on, because we had, like, massive posters hanging all over the county, and they sent some young reporter to figure out what the hell is going on at this. Well, it was actually at the village next to my hometown, this disco.
Yeah.
They normally had, like Euro dance nights on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like a gabber party.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, was it a small town or was it?
Like 30,000 people, and it's an old city though. I mean, it is considered a city because of like history and like.
When were you throwing the parties?
Like I did the first two in summer of '99.
Summer of '99.
Yeah.
You know, that's really special for someone who's like young, relatively young in 1999, because like people that know the episode, I'm a bit of a 30-year-old boomer, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, before the fucking internet, like, if you wanted something, you had to go get it somewhere. You had to know a guy and a guy. So if you weren't, what was it, 1999, fucking Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, new metal, and juggalos and all this shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were one of the unfortunate people that weren't following these trends and you actually liked electronic music, you know, can we close that tab? It's freaking me out.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
My own SoundCloud. I'm just, sorry.
You got it. No.
I want to see my face.
Yeah. We'll blank that out. Well, yeah, I understand what you mean.
You know what I mean?
And so my hometown was kind of like that.
You're someone's hero, and you don't realize it, or maybe you do. Some of these kids that were at the parties probably started careers.
Well, that's kind of what happened. We threw the first party in '99, like me and my best friend in grade school before I came to Canada in '95. So as a 12-year-old, I came here. And we stayed in touch. I started going to raves. I already liked electronic music from way young, you know. I mean, having older brother and my mom was into like, Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode, and Italo disco,
cool,
Jean-Michel Jarre, a lot of this kind of stuff. She didn't really listen to band. She listened to like dance, anyway, so I was really into it, and like I started raving in Toronto, so that was my like connect with the party feeling relatively early. Some kids brought me.
When you moved here when you were 12, you moved to Toronto? Or
Scarborough.
Oh, Scarborough.
Scarborough, yeah.
Toronto. So, oh man, so you're, how old were you when you were 12, but what year was that?
Oh, that was 95.
My math isn't that good. I couldn't do this.
So yeah. It was, it was.
Oh my God, so you're going to like jungle parties.
Well, no, I didn't start partying at 12, right? And I imagine it took a while for my mom to actually have to sell quite a lie. They had these parties at the Science Center.
Okay.
And I was like, this is how I'm going to manage to go to raves a lot more often. I showed her the flyer. I'm like, look, Mom, there's these laser shows all night. Yeah. It's like, it's at the Science Center, Mom. Yeah. It's all legit. Like, all my friends are doing it.
Yeah, it's science.
I'm like, it's all legit. It's founded by the city. She looked at it. It's a science center. She doesn't know it's a rave. What's a rave?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you get there and there's someone standing there with, like, multiple sheets of acid just flipping it. You're just like, okay, it's...
How old were you when you started going to Toronto raves? Or what years? Really?
I think, like, the first time I was brought to one was 97, but I didn't really party that much.
Okay.
till 98, I started doing things a little bit more like almost every weekend. I tried to go, which involved like.
So it's like jungle or like trance?
Trance, happy, hardcore, drum and bass, jungle. I mean, I wasn't really picky. At some point, relatively quickly, I discovered DJ Dominic, which was kind of like an institution for me for someone who would play like above 180 and it wasn't happy hardcore just. Okay. He played sometimes happy hardcore, but he played Rotterdam kind of, as he called it, which to us was like Dutch hardcore and the UK sound, not the UK happy hardcore, but like stuff like Hardcore Mafia or Def Jam Records, stuff like Hellfish and Producer, and like that was how I kind of realized that there was that sound to hardcore, mixed with rap and hip hop samples like that. So that was kind of like if I saw his name on a flyer, I was like, I think I'm gonna go to this. And this is actually how
What was it again? You said it was
DJ Dominic.
DJ Dominic.
Yeah, I think it started relatively in the early mid 90s, and he was one of those guys that was pushing for that harder sound.
Were you listening to I think it's Jazz FM that was playing they had like Shy Effects and stuff playing like on the radio?
Yeah, there was a couple radio shows, but I don't know, I was more about trying to find like tracker files.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was like faster. Like I had a terrible internet connection, and downloading a 120 kilobyte remix of a track was faster than getting the 4 megabyte MP3s.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, I did listen to some radio shows.
So you were more focused on going out and meeting people at the parties.
Yeah, getting mixtapes. There was like a lot of
store
tapes, like Cloud9. You could go in and like that have like DJ Tron or like Delta 9, and you're just like, wow, okay, I can get the music you don't really hear as much. But that's kind of like, going to raves is how I discovered Delta 9, for example. I was in line. And I figured like hardcore wasn't really big. So I got my mom to order something online. I mean, figure I was a 15-year-old or 16 or 15 at the time. I got her to get me a Thunderdome t-shirt. Like with big block letters on the back, Thunderdome 98. In the front, but the stylized one was really sweet. I missed the shirt. I don't know where it went. But it's, every guy has that shirts missing as their life goes on, their favorite shirts.
Yeah.
So I was standing in line, and
sorry, it was I had the auto gain on, and it sucks. I don't edit shit on the show.
Yeah, so fair enough. I know how it is.
Yeah.
But, the line, I mean, this was at the Better Living Center.
Okay.
So this is like golden age of... Better Living Center is like a huge exhibition place, basically.
Okay.
It's where they have the food, like, exhibitions from international foods in Toronto. We're talking about a venue that can hold, like, 12,000 people.
It's by the water, right? The water?
Yeah, relatively. Yeah, it's an exhibition place, like, where you see, like...
I think I've been there once.
Yeah. So, it's a huge space. They divided into 4 rooms. 12,000 people, I think, were at this party.
Fuck.
Now, imagine the chances of me standing... I mean, there wasn't many kids into hardcore, like, really actually into it. Not, I like it at the party, but actually, like, liking it outside.
Yeah.
And these guys who are standing right beside me, they start talking to each other, like, hey, man, this guy has a Thunderdome t-shirt.
Yeah.
He's like, you think he likes hardcore? And I turned around, I'm like, fuck yeah, I like hardcore. This is actually like one of my friends to this day, Yeah. He's like, you're here to see Delta 9? I'm like, no, man, I'm here to see Down. He's like, you're not here to see Delta 9? I'm like, who's Delta 9? And they're like, whoa. They were pretty surprised. Because, Dominic was the DJ. Dave was already releasing and making this stuff.
Yeah.
So they said, hey, we'll see you there. And Delta 9 was playing at, 5 a.m. We ended up being the 3 of us on stage in front of him, telling him to go faster and faster.
Huh.
And he eventually did go really fast. I think almost dangerous, considering it was like 5 a.m. and him speeding up the record by hand.
It's crazy because I'm from further up north in New Brunswick.
Okay,
and so it was like in Toronto, at least you had cool record stores and shit like that. Like it was like if it wasn't on Much Music, you were fucked. The only electronic music you had was Barbie Girl and was Eiffel 65,
right?
And maybe if you stayed up late enough, whatever, or Brave New Waves. That's it.
You see, I totally missed on that. Until way in the 2000s, I realized this thing existed.
Yeah, I remember the first time I've ever heard Thunderdome. I was like in grade 5, and someone somehow found a bootleg tape from somewhere that probably, because the way how it would work, it was records would go from Toronto to Halifax. and then someone would go to Halifax and maybe get some stuff. So in Moncton, it was like you had like a record that's been owned like 10 times from some guy that was originally from Toronto. Anyways,
that's
so when you said Thunderdome, I'm very nostalgic for Thunderdome.
No, this was very funny. That was like the first time I came here was actually with my brother. We'd come up to visit his girlfriend's family up in Montreal, and there was all these used CD stores, like, 98, 99.
CD Esoteric.
Oh man, I've passed some of them. They're no longer there, but I remember going in and just seeing like Terrordrome, Thunderdome, Earthquake, all these like mainstream, relatively speaking, but like awesome CDs that you couldn't get at HMV or even Sam. You have to look.
The record, man.
You had to look. You had to look hard to get it, and like ordering online. Like I did one order and some things didn't come through, and my mom was like, "That's it. I'm not giving you a credit card for anything else." I'm like, I'll pay for it. She's like, no, you're getting ripped off. So I was like, money orders, things like that.
What the fuck is this?
Mailing lists. Mailing lists. I mean, in a way, it was awesome though. Like,
it's awesome, but it's so much easier, better now.
Oh, I know.
It was funner then, but it's better now.
No, there's no argument there.
Yeah.
And the dissemination of music is really fast, and it's cool how Discogs became one of those things where you can track down stuff and get in touch with people who have doubles or wanting, it's like created like a network for people who are into records or want to get stuff that's long out of print.
Do you think records still have a place right now? Do you think people are still into them? And when you look at the BuzzFeed articles, they're saying like,
apparently the sales have been going up
higher
relatively
than
steadily.
digital.
Yeah, steadily. Well, I mean, like, look, digital is gonna stay, right? I mean, it's not going anywhere. But I think like people.
It's $1 billion Vinyl's doing. That's what they're saying.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people like that, permanence almost. It's like you have a piece of your music, It's no longer just a file. It's like it's limited in a way. It's special.
Yeah.
And like,
you
a lot
can
of
resell
people.
It.
Sure, but even just to have that as a memorabilia for future, I think you'll see a lot of people with the ease that like, what Bandcamp is now like facilitating making your own records. I think a lot of artists are gonna try and make limited runs just to get that back out there, and it's I think that's great.
Yeah.
I don't have a means to play it. I haven't had in my life. I had a collection of records that was mostly trades and gifts.
Yeah.
Through booking and through promoting, you book artists that are like playing their new stuff, and they have the records.
Yeah.
And it's like you often ended up with, so many copies of so many records to like spread between other DJs and, pass on or even sell if you wanted to. I mean, like usually I try to just, share the stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I think it still has a place, and, there is something to it that makes it special. And I do enjoy having people who still like the medium and choose to play it,
Yeah.
But it's funny. I mean, like we organize events and we might have one DJ out of the whole night who will require the turntables.
Oh wow.
And then like you think about that, it's just like, wow. Before it was like, okay, we have one person maybe who's gonna need CDJs or something special, right?
Yeah.
But it's switched completely.
Yeah. Now it's all digital, and
It's
a
pretty
lot of
much
the time these
people-
guys do their set before they even play the show. They do it all recorded as a WAV file.
I've seen that, yeah. Like, I remember playing at the Password one time when someone was preceding me at the OCDJ nights that Nathan was organizing.
Yeah.
And I said, so roughly how long is your set? And he actually told me the exact like minutes and seconds. And I'm like, wow, you're really precise. He's like, well, look here. And I saw just like a giant WAV file. And
Set.wave.
I'm like, okay. Well, I mean, I was over that disappointment really early, actually. I think in around 98, this Toronto company started throwing like hardcore parties, actually. They saw that there was interest.
Yeah.
One of those promoters is actually DJ Plague, like Canadian Speedcore Resistance, Ian Wright. Here's along with Graham, they started doing THR, and eventually THR dissolved after 3 parties. They went bankrupt. But they did bring, like Predator or BuzzFuzz. I think Tommy Knocker came for the last party. That was cool for the 90s. I was really happy that this was happening.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing Predator he was playing a live set, and this was the first time I had that. I was just starting out with trackers pretty much at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe fooled around a bit in '97 on an Amiga in Poland at my friend's house, and then I was thinking of getting that for a PC, but I didn't have internet yet.
Okay, I want to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Get your history out, and then we can talk about the other stuff. Because you said trackers, and every episode, I always ask the person to start from the beginning, because I want young people, when they're listening, to be able to... Because a lot of the reasons... There was a few reasons why I created the podcast, but one of the things that bothers me a lot is... And you get it all the time. Every guy who makes music knows a person that wants to get into music, and they're like, oh, what kind of computer do I need? And you're like, dude... In 1996, I had a Pentium 133 and I was making music. You could use your fucking toaster, you could use a tablet,
That's like the whole concept with speed bass, which was like you could go to... Speed bass was this genre that popped up. It was super crazy, hyper stuff. Okay, it was awesome, actually. People would be able to like just write it within, 20 minutes. You'd go to a library, download a sample pack, and upload it, write it on a tracker, download a tracker on the library computer and write a track and put it up on speedbase.net to, 20 minutes later. It was usually it was very low standard, very fast stuff. You should definitely look into this. It's pretty funny. It was not just funny, but it was also in a way like very unfiltered, like, because you really didn't care so much about the quality. You just wanted to have fun or make a joke, So speedbase was a thing.
The beginning of what got you into music? You said your mom listened to
music. Well, I guess from as far as back as I can remember, there was the stereo and those tapes, and I think I really started showing interest. The first thing I really, really remember, like, what's this? Like, I want to know what this is. It was Jarre, like Oxygen and Equinox. Like, my mom had a tape with Jean-Michel Jarre's first two albums, and I remember
Jean-Michel Jarre. Never heard of it.
Come on, Jean-Michel Jarre?
Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry, dude. I don't.
All right. Well, anyways, he's like like one of the godfathers of electronic kind of stuff.
Wow.
He's kind of like the French evangelist.
Sorry, bass fuggers.
It's all good. I guess he's like the French evangelist. If I don't know, I hope I'm not insulting either of them. Or but like he did a lot of cool stuff and. That was like kind of like the ambient with rhythm, very synthetic, no real sounds. Okay. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I guess the first video I remember was Mars, Pump Up the Volume.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember seeing that somewhere on TV, and it became like they used to use this for a science kind of TV show that we watched, and it was always in the intro, and I was like, this is the best beat. And like at some point me and my brother counted how many different transitions there is in that song compared to other acid house or stuff from that era. It was like, wow, there's like 14 transitions, like different sample things,
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, at that point I don't know, just music was always there. And like my mom's close friend was one of the early DJs in a bigger city in Poznań in the 80s, and she'd go over there with us sometimes, bring blank tapes for him to record stuff for her.
That's so cool.
And that's basically how we came across like acid, because I think my brother saw a tape laying there, and being a little sneaky was like, this tape is unlabeled and this looks like no tape I've ever seen, So he pocketed it and he brought it home, and I still don't know what it is, but it was some of the craziest dark acid house techno. We just like I was like 5'4", and I would like spin around around myself for like 20 minutes. Oh my
God, dude! When I was 5, I was listening to Huey Lewis and the News on the radio, AM radio.
I mean, like full disclosure, first tape I actually got myself, or I think it was like Madonna's like 4th album or like 5th album. I can't even remember what it is. It was that really fantastical one. It was like really kind of like, I don't know, almost new age, I guess. I don't know what it is.
No, whatever. Yeah. But so if you guys are collecting tapes at a young age, you're listening to dark acid music.
But at the same time, like Pet Shop Boys or like a Fancy or like Erasure, I mean, disco, and like synth pop. I mean, Italo. I mean, anything we could really get our hands on.
A person, because we're about the same age, a person our age in North America had I could bet you $5 did not have access to any
Unless
type of electronic music.
You probably have to be in like New York or like one of the centers where there was clubbing, and like I would figure it out. It's like the only place you could maybe. But yeah, I understand. I saw that even coming here. Like we would have like VHS with videos we'd record from Viva in Europe, and then the videos would show up on Much Music like a year later on Electric Circus. Say, we got a new video for you.
Electric Circus.
You know what I mean?
Did you ever go when you lived in Toronto?
I passed it on my way to parties. Usually, I mean, like by the time I could party, I thought it was kind of silly. Even though like some of the DJs were actually like rave DJs that played at raves would sometimes play at the Electric Circus before a night.
MC Mario.
Yeah, but like I remember seeing like, for example, Kamikaze or like I think was it Elixir? Oh man, like hard trance DJs would play there, you know, and like but I didn't really stick around. At the point where I could go out, that wasn't really what excited me. That it was more about going to like a warehouse somewhere and like
5 years old. Poland.
Yeah,
you're listening to the Dark 303.
Yeah, and
then when did you say I want to try making this stuff? Did you find the tracker first and then start to make music, or did you go like I need to find out how to make music?
No. I think it kind of came naturally in the sense that like I guess when. You know, Poland, they have this whole thing about
demo scenes.
But yeah, the whole thing with gifting kids a lot of stuff on their first communion because you know everyone has to do that Catholic or
first communion. Okay,
maybe your communion, right? And so
I straight to hell. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Don't worry. I stuck around just till then.
When I was 6.
No, I stuck around till then, and I asked for an Atari. And that's kind of like,
dude. Or you mean an Atari ST?
No, I got the one in between, the 8-bit with the cassette drive.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you know, like that's continued the whole thing where you saw that the computers would kind of make electronic music. It wasn't really as good as the stuff you heard on the records. It has its own aesthetic, maybe not good or worse. That's not the point. But eventually, I think Atari started going down. But in Poland, they kept it alive, and they actually made a drum machine for it.
Okay.
And I had it on a tape, and I used to fool around with it, and I'd go to my big bro, and I'd make the standard house shuffle, like, you know, and I'd be like, hey, I'm making techno. And he's like, yeah, you got the beat, we don't have anything else with it. And I'm like, well, the program doesn't make anything else. He's like, yeah. And that was it, you know. But I think he was a little bit jealous that I figured out how to do it.
Bro, that's how haters act. They're jealous.
But I mean, I thought
they're jealous.
In a way, you know, he was just like, this is, you know, he wasn't that impressed. But that was the first one, and it was basically like a very basic 2-track. You could pick any of the drum samples, and how I mean, at this point, I really liked the idea, you know, and I thought I wanted to do it. I really wanted to do creative things. Overall, anyways, I was more in arts. I was doing arts. I was in theater too. Like I performed plays as a kid.
Okay.
Up until high school.
Cool.
Yeah. So I did nothing like professional, but I mean, I did have some.
Were you ever like in bands? Or was that not really part of the culture in Poland in the 90s?
Well, as far as music band, my musical dreams were quashed really early.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time I had that drum machine, I also had a first critic of my musical stylings. Yeah. In Poland, you study music. And so we would sing sometimes, like do a dual voice, you know, sing the song with a delay where the people start late and you do like the harmony, you know, simple songs, but like... And
can you still sing?
I couldn't sing.
Okay.
The teacher said to me, he was like, Kliber, you shouldn't even bother. You sound like an elephant stomped on your ears.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, like, that didn't stop
me. If only he could hear you now.
Well, actually, I mean, like, my second album, I did bring it to her.
Oh, really?
I didn't ask how she liked it, but there was, like, neoclassical stuff on the first few songs, so I figured she'd probably appreciate it. Yeah. And then, like, a crazy speaker track comes on, which was kind of like me saying, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
And then same here in high school, I started taking like MIDI and keyboard class.
Okay.
And I brought like Prodigy because every kid got to bring a song.
Yeah. And
the teacher cut it off early. And I'm like, but there's the last movement of the song that we didn't get to listen to that really like ties it all together.
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed that like, you know.
Yeah. So you got into tracking when you were in Poland.
Yeah, on vacations. After coming here, you know, I would go, like, not every summer.
You would go back.
I would go back to visit my grandparents, my cousins, you know, a lot of friends. I mean, like, when you live somewhere for 12 years,
I got you.
You have connections. And,
especially family.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, my hometown, like, the way the classes were made, it was pretty interesting. I mean, the school would have kids from the same street all be in the same class. So when the school would finish, it would be like a group of kids all walking eventually to the same direction. And it's like, oh, you live, my best friend lived on the corner. My other best friend lived in the same building, but on the other part of it. Yeah. And like all the different girls lived in the building in between the two of us. I mean, it was kind of like, you know, it was easy when you visit there. And I mean, at this point, most of those kids are adults like me, but they've moved on to different parts of the city. But mid 90s until 2000, they were still mostly there or studying. And then when I'd come, they'd be visiting their folks in the summer or still in high school or equivalent. Yeah. So, you know, with the raving I was doing in Toronto, I was like, you know, kind of infecting the idea that we need that in my little hometown. Yeah. And my best friend's dad was a wedding singer. Okay. So he had all this, like, like
Adam Sandler?
Kind of. Actually, yeah. And like more like accordion and like guitar and bass, you know. Like, actually, yeah, kind of like Adam Sandler, actually. Cool. And so he had all these speakers, and my best friend was in electrotechnics, so he ended up, like, taking all the amps and fixing them up. And by 99, he had enough. Yeah. We thought we could do a party.
That's awesome.
And so...
You weren't producing at this point?
I started already. So that was kind of the idea. I wanted to play my songs. I already had songs. And Laf-o was born in 99 during those parties. Before that, I was working under a different name.
What was your different name?
It was actually related to like a club my big brother created, which was kind of like a club of... I don't know how to kindly say it. Like... winos, I guess. His friends would get into trouble as teenagers. Yeah. And I kind of got accepted into it one summer by being like a super asshole. Okay. You know, and like they thought I was funny and so I was a member and that club's name was basically my production name. It wasn't very original, but you know, I was 15 and I'm like, okay, this is what I am. I belong to this group. So I was like, okay, that was my name. And I quickly was like, yeah, I think I need something else, you know.
So what was the name? Or you don't want to say
it's a Cowpe.
Cowpe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's like the numbers, so 04. So
oh wow, it's very random.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like an Odd Checker song,
right? So that's the name. Anyways, the music made with like 240 BPM happy hardcore. I mean,
so this was on your 8-bit Atari?
No, by this point I'm in Canada, right? In 97, I started seeing stuff on Amiga. In 98, we started fooling around with my friend, and then I got Fast Tracker.
Fast Tracker 2.
Yeah.
Good God.
And then, like, you know, by 99, I thought I was doing cool shit, so I wanted to throw a party. But I was only, like, 15 or 16.
How did you get Fast Tracker 2? Did the guy already had it, or did you guys find it on a BBS, or this was, like, common
at this point, you already had, like, www, right? You had the worldwide, right. And I was looking for Tracker, because, like, I didn't know quite a lot about it. It's not like there was... I knew other people doing it, other than my friend in Poland, and so he was on Pro Tracker, and I figured out, it was 4 channels, 2 left, 2 right.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a tracker. It was like, oh, there's a Steam Tracker, IT, right? And then there was like Pro and a few other ones. And I'm like, okay, I went with the Pro Tracker, and that was like maybe 98, and started like looking for tracks.
Were you telling your friends when you went back to Poland, like, hey, you got to download Fast Trackers?
No, well, my friend was a hardcore Amiga guy, so he's just like, there's no way you can run it.
Okay.
But no, we like by like 2001 when we did the one actually serious party, and this is how you were saying how, you know, some people could have came to that party and had career. Yeah. Well, the first party, one of my best friends at this point, still over the years, we haven't seen each other in years, but he was just coming back from a trip. Yeah. From Spain, and he arrives in his hometown and he sees these handmade flyers that I made saying hardcore, terror, trance, techno, you know, and like there was like little stubs of paper you could rip with the phone number, and told you to call at this hour when both of my friends' parents were out, and we could like tell people about the party.
Wow.
right?
That's
and
cool.
he called this guy has been like he's one of like the longest running Polish hardcore DJs.
Wow.
Gal, he's got a series like this is what I call hardcore. This is what I call acidcore. He's got like 60 mixes. He's kind of like the Polish Fishhead. Not quite as big of a collection. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But quite the same level of dedication. Just started later, and it started with him coming to this party. He didn't believe that there's hardcore in his home little town, right?
Yeah.
And then the next party already was playing. He brought his CD collection and tape collection. And then at this point, I mean, he's retired. He's got 2 daughters and stuff. He plays rarely. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but he
went and
life.
he played, so many events all over Poland.
Yeah.
And it started with that little party that I organized.
The mother probably thought he was attractive because he was a DJ. Maybe if he wouldn't have become a DJ, he would have had 2 daughters.
I never quite inquired about how he hooked up or met with her.
Yeah. But it's amazing to me. One of the other reasons why I started making the podcast was it's just like you don't, there's so much shit going on in the world and we feel like we don't have any control over it. But when you look like historically, like art, like music, that's how you penetrate and influence, because it's like hard to express yourself all the time. But if you make a song, sometimes a song will just last forever. You look at like hieroglyphics on like and like pyramids and shit. That stuff's been last forever.
For sure. I totally know what you mean. And like on like that level, I mean, I'm not extremely prolific. I know this. I don't write just for the sake of writing. It's never been that way.
Yeah, I noticed. It's hard to find your material sometimes.
Yeah, there isn't that much. I mean, like and I'm missing a lot that I didn't release, especially after the robbery. Yeah. That happened last year. But the thing that I liked seeing is like the second degree of influence. Yeah. At some point, one of my close friends, Razor Edge, which is another Canadian producer, is still active. He's got tons of stuff out. And he broke out in Netherlands. Okay. And he started releasing with multiple labels. And the thing is, like, when we met, we were both doing slightly different things than after. He was doing kind of darkcore, like my more atmospheric, dark, hard techno hardcore. And I was doing my thing. And through the mix of the two, I became more industrial and more about distortion and shaping of sound, and he became more broken. And he brought that broken hardcore over there, and for a bit, nobody really quite knew what to do with him because he was fucking everyone up. He was really slaying it. Yeah. Like Chewing on the Razor or Heartbeat, to this day, you can drop those tracks in a party and people are like, yo, that's a fat beat. Yeah. You can't say anything. And I know, in a way, I'm not taking credit for him writing it. Yeah. But it was like the mutual kind of like pushing each other forward. Yeah. That, like you can see that some things that happen become a trend in the sound, and then you start hearing others like writing it years and years later, and hardcore did change after Adam went there. Yeah. If you study the Dutch like big labels, you can start seeing around 2005, 6, 7 people starting to put more edits at the end of their kicks, trying to get more like experimental. And then, I mean, of course, there was other people already doing it, and American hardcore too, like like the stuff that maybe wasn't making it to the big parties in the Netherlands. But it was happening already. But he actually kind of brought that American experimental side of hardcore over there, and people are like, okay, we want to do that and incorporate it. Yeah. And I think like that's maybe down the line is kind of like how Crosby became kind of that thing where they decided like it's sort of drum and bass, breakcore, but not really. It's still more rooted in hardcore. But I mean, like, I think that's like one of those progressions. Yeah. So it's fun for you to see. Is like, like, yeah, of course. I was influenced by other people to put snares and like make breaky hardcore. It's not like I came up with the idea. I was just like, hey. It's not like Atari Teenage Riot. It wasn't inspired by hip hop or whatever, Yeah. And like, it's not like I can claim that I didn't get inspired by Alec, having that, what was that first EP where he did it? Destroyer. And there was that untitled track on there. Yeah. It's just like rhythmic, harsh noise. It's just super fucking intense. Like, okay, what's this? Yeah. Can I do something for the first time on the Bass Fug podcast since you're smoking? And you know what? I fucked up. I got to take a major ass leak right now after drinking this water. Can we play one of the songs you were showing me as an intermission? Yeah, let's do that. Because I thought it'd be pretty cool. I just turned off my monitor. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, we're breaking all the rules. I think you don't typically.
Here, someone's showing that if you want to give the backstory to this song, or maybe after we play the song, we'll do the intermission.
All right. Let's see which one. Oh, maybe I'll do one you haven't heard. No. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Man, I'm quite lost right here.
Yeah, take your time. This is a Bass Fug exclusive right now.
Yeah, this track hasn't been played anywhere besides in live sets or DJ sets, so it's not online yet. So here we go.
What's the name?
Internalized Neurosis, and this is going to be like a track 2 of the free EP that I'm preparing for you guys. So for all my fans and supporters, this one's for you. Here's a preview or test.
Great. I was so pumped that we did that. We just did that. I'm like, because it's really important for me to fucking catalog us. You know, no one's interviewing us. No one's doing that. You know what I mean? That's not because of us specifically, just because of the culture. You know, people care about Lizzo and shit like that. Right, no offense to her, but you know, there isn't a lot of like underground exposure.
There is, right? I mean, that's why I was really happy to see Sean Northland. Mm-hmm. He did this documentary, basically kind of capturing what it's like for 2 or 3 or even single person, whatever, for the tour life, what it's like in Canada, go from city to city, you know?
Yeah.
And play these parties for what is essentially a niche sound that doesn't really have large followings and And they did that, and it's documented. Megacore, the DVD is out. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, write that down.
Yeah. So that's kind of like one of those things. But like you're right. We don't have quite a lot beyond like the random like footage of people pulling out their phones during parties and being like, "This is awesome! I'm gonna." You know, like I have a clip of someone yelling like, "Play so fucking Breakcore!" Actually, you know, and during a set, then it's like something you captured that like one little thing. It's like you are actually playing Breakcore, but that's the whole joke, right?
Yeah,
you know,
and the thing is like, you know, you inspired other people to go on to do things, and then if we keep doing this and sort of creating our own culture, it's already created, but keep putting it out with all the new sort of ways to digest it, it's going to be good for everybody, right?
I think so. Connecting, right? I mean, like the strength in numbers, and if the numbers are small, well, how do you increase them? You might not be able to get as many people into it as you'd like.
Yeah.
When that's the beauty, actually. That's what I found was really awesome by touring in Europe.
Yeah.
Is we hooked up the whole thing via MySpace.
Yeah.
And it was just people being like, we want to have you, you know, like no real planning. It's just like, we're going to be in this city, you guys doing it this day.
Yeah.
And then you get there and it's like people treat you like family, you know, like the way you end up like they'll free their apartment and they'll show you the best of their city.
Yeah.
And this is sort of thing that like we were already doing with our headliners or our invitees in Toronto. Yeah. This is basically like, I kind of skipped a few things, but from doing those 2 free parties in Poland in 99, you know, and the rave scene sort of dying down in Toronto after the overdoses and the city cracking down.
Yeah.
By 2001, there was maybe 1 or 2 venues that you could reliably book a rave.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
And around the same time I met with these
So sorry, to Fast Tracker 2, Poland, you guys are creating shows.
Yeah.
You're playing your own shows. You're playing the stuff that you made. This is Laf-o, right?
Yeah, this is like as a kid, my first little touchings, you know?
Okay. So now you're back in Toronto. You're starting to build things up.
Well, I mean, like I wanted to do the same things here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was a kid, and the only way I managed to do things in Poland is because, you know, my brother's best friend's dad was a major in the military.
Yeah.
And he had the recreational compound that I rented for peanuts that was outside of town that had electricity, and we set up our speakers and played music, and no one could bother us.
Yeah.
When the police showed up, I laughed at them and told them to call the gendarme. I'm like, if I let you in, you're breaking the law. I'm breaking the law. You can't come in here. And I laughed at them, you know. I mean, the second time I dealt with them, I was a 16-year-old high on LSD. Those were great memories, you know. But coming back here, how the hell do you book a venue when you're 16 or 17? It doesn't really happen. So, you know, and the rave scene started dying down, but I was already kind of active online and meeting friends that I wasn't actually friends with yet.
Yeah.
And, you know, I came across people starting to be or promote and be interested in the more extreme or, you know, niche sounds. The noise, the industrial side of the extreme, maybe rhythmic and maybe proto-breakcore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I mean, I remember the first time I was already like producing, but Duncan, DJ Skeeter brought Enduzer or during his Sonic Terror tour, like, I think maybe it was, well, I was underage, so it might have been 2000 or 2001. Yeah. But like before, like maybe, anyways, I remember using a fake ID to go into the show and standing there behind Lynn and looking at his screen, and he had like a mud plug tracker, I believe. Or maybe not, but his tracks, there was like 28. I was using like 6 or 7, 8 maybe for a complicated. I was just looking at his stuff.
Especially Fast Tracker 2. You could have a lot of tracks Fast Tracker 2, like 32,
you could.
but it was like you're probably running on a DOS machine that was kind of...
Well, it was just like, why would I need that many tracks? I mean, at this point, you know, I was making whatever I was making. That's not the point. I was just looking at his stuff and looking at his screen and being like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
And eventually, like, me and Duncan and Peter and Duncan, actually, Peter Belladonna Kills, Canadian producer, and Duncan Skeeter started Smirk.
He passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, Belladonna Kills passed 2010. Quite tragic loss. But that's kind of like how the breakcore thing in Toronto, that was one of the big things, was Smirk. It was him and Peter and Duncan throwing this free party under a bridge in downtown Toronto that 700 people came to, and it's all like
700 people under a bridge.
Oh yeah. And I mean,
tornadoes coming.
I mean, like, yeah, I even called the time when it was going to get busted. I was within like 5 minutes. We got it instantly raided by CN police, like the guys who make sure that the train tracks are clear, and Metro police.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never seen 700 people dispersed that fast. It was pretty incredible to see. Peter actually stayed with the sound system and like dealt with the cops, and like they took it in and we got it back. And, but like that was it. That was like the real free party of the new. Like there was other frees that were happening in Toronto before our thing, but they were related more to the rave, and we're trying to break away because the rave scene kind of imploded on itself.
Okay.
Because it got so big, people started using really sketchy places that couldn't handle the amount of people, and it was connected to shitty drugs. So you know, I mean, like eventually the city was like, I have a target, distract from other shit.
Yeah.
So the raves really died. By 2000. It was really going downhill, and we didn't want to repeat those mistakes. And we also saw what free techno, how it swelled in Europe, and the problems they were encountering by having free parties with thousands of people and eventual interventions by police.
Yeah.
So we kept it low promotion, word of mouth, not about being popular or being cool, just doing what we like.
Yeah.
You know, like not take over, but like set up a single big speaker in the park somewhere.
Yeah.
And just listen to like selected ambient work. You know, with like 20 friends, and just have like an ambient evening and test the waters, and then maybe like next month break into a water filtration plant that's not really used and set up in there, or that's like a recycling plant that's been decommissioned. You know, we did so many awesome spots in Toronto.
Stop here. We got to dig into the cool places you had shows at. Water filtration plant.
I didn't do that one. I didn't organize. I'm saying like the Toronto Free Techno. It wasn't just smirk. Don't get me wrong. This was the party for me that really. The 700 people under a bridge all dispersing, that sort of like inspired other people to be like, yeah, but I want to do this, but maybe with tech house, or I want to do this with electro and like hard energy, and I want to do this with psytrance. And all of a sudden, like by 2001, after 2002, there was 5 or 6 different crews doing different free techno stuff. And all of a sudden, you would have a message board and all these people who were like kind of all became friends, doing their own thing, and this culminated in the first Nortec, the first Technival, which actually I think maybe the first Technival started even before those crews, which was essentially like Duncan and Chris at the time from Mir and Smirk invited a bunch of kids from New York. Like, you know, from New York Free Techno, and organized a free party in a giant park on the outskirts of Scarborough.
That's awesome.
That was the first Technival. By the second year, we had like actual sound systems coming from New York and other cities.
Yeah.
I think the best year or the greatest year, I think 2005, there was 12 stages, about 800 people north of Bancroft in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
For 4 days. So this was another big, influence, and also just ammunition and fuel to keep going, because you meet all these people who are doing it. I mean, free techno is not for profit.
Yeah.
You don't expect anything in return. You get everything you get from the experience, you know?
I'm going to ask something. I don't know if it's going to come off the wrong way or whatever, but do you remember these parties a lot? Because you're partying there, you know what I mean? But do you like look back and go like, fuck, that was awesome?
Yeah.
Because there's one thing, I would go look at like old rave tapes and stuff on YouTube, and I think Vice did an article on this actually, and it's like the comments in these like rave tapes are like, I was there, and they're just huge, massive comments, and everybody is just so... it's like a memory they cherish, you know?
I have a lot of those, yeah, and I haven't lost those. I don't know. I discovered relatively early that MDMA or ecstasy didn't really work for me very well because of the severe calm down and the depression that followed. So I partied sober a lot. I mean, I did have my succeeded battles with different addictions, even as a raver that I conquered and so on. But I mean, yeah, I have a lot of events that I remember fondly, and even the ones where I was intoxicated, I can remember like very specific things, like saying Mistress Barbara in Tropicana in Toronto, and the whole floor looked like it was going to collapse because the movement was literally close to a foot between the people landing on the floor and then the reverse of the wood. I mean, that venue got shut down eventually. But I remember these little details, and I remember some of the whole nights where you just meet people, and you're like, "This is awesome."
Yeah,
but more so,
and the thing that's important too is that there's people that are maybe not listening to this, but people that are going to these shows, they aren't producers. They aren't, into that. They're just there because they want those experiences that they can have with people, and you're creating the opportunity for these people to have, that you're creating those memories for these people.
This is precisely like the payoff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, when I separate things from money, I think the value comes from shared or experiences that you provide grounds for to happen, and that's sort of also why I've chosen to do music as I do. Instead of trying to do stuff that's commonly relatable or have a lot of vocal samples that kind of tell you what it's about, I make it more, not so much abstract, because it does relate to something, but it seems like it might be abstract, and only if you're tuned or maybe had similar experience, you'll see that you can relate to this piece in a way that you don't quite understand, but I've noticed this happening, and I've continued in this way. I'm translating the most important things that happen to me into these pieces, and in a way creating sort of an escape from what you expect. Like that might be egoistical, but you have a little escape of what you expect music might be. And people who are into experimental stuff are less easy to impress in that sense, but that was the cool thing at Toronto.
I don't think it's egotistical saying that. I think a lot of people in our genre specifically, like, I know you're more than just breakcore or whatever,
right?
But like, I think a lot of us, the mentality is let's do something different,
right?
And like, because you see people. You don't see too many genres where like producers kind of poke fun at each other, being like, you're doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last 2 years. Do something new,
right?
Whether that's good or bad, it's up for debate. But the point is, I don't think it's egotistical saying that you're trying to get people to see music from a different point of view, because everybody's doing that in our genre,
right? And that was kind of like I think one of the things that I might have lucked out more than some of my peers in Toronto, in that like. I somehow managed to get put on these lineups for these free parties that didn't really have hardcore breakcore profiles.
Oh yeah, because it was all jungle, from what I remember in the late 90s.
The free techno in Toronto, we're talking the early 2000s till about 2009 or 10 when it started really declining rapidly again.
Yeah.
But a lot of these parties that didn't have breakcore or hardcore, I somehow managed to be, put on the bill where a couple of DJs would give 15 minutes of each of their set, and I got a half an hour in between the two of them.
Yeah.
Or I showed up and helped out.
Do you think, because you said around 2009, sort of this traditional rave scene, like the OGs.
Well, the free scene, yeah.
Yeah, it started kind of declining a little bit. Do you think that was because of the popularization of dubstep? It being so commercial, and then just that kind of turning into...
As far as Toronto, I think there was... Well, cause and effect, my simplest answer would be a large rave promoter of the old school era before the free techno got interested in doing free techno, having a much larger following and old school tactics of promoting. They managed to, like, our 700 people under the bridge party taught us a lesson.
Yeah.
That's not how we're going to have all-nighters. In order for us to have all-nighter, we need 20, 30, 40 friends.
Yeah.
Why do we need hundreds?
Yeah.
And that's how we kept it going. Yeah. And this person got involved and started using our locations and bringing 1,000 ravers, which meant the venues or the locations really got burnt, that we couldn't use them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how it became really difficult to do things.
Okay, I'm going to write this down. We're at 2004 right now, but I just want a quick aside from you. Okay, a kid right now is 14. Okay, he wants to do a rave, and he lives in Scarborough.
Right.
What is he going to do?
Right? How are you going to pull that off?
Yeah, what would you tell him? What advice would you tell him? Well, like, how would you find a place? How would you find an illegal venue?
I would tell him not to go for venues, but go for nature.
Go for nature.
That's right. If you're living in Scarborough, check out the bluffs. Not the Bluffers Park, but between Scarborough and Pickering.
Yeah.
There's a stretch of beach.
For nature.
Kids from certain high schools have been doing bush parties or beach parties there for years.
How do you... Okay, this is going to sound dumb. Look, I just produce. I don't throw parties or whatever.
How do you do a party?
How do you put the fucking PA in the middle of the... Is it a generator? Or like?
Yeah, of course. You bring a
How do you get a generator?
I mean, that's you invest or you rent.
Okay.
Or you borrow.
Where do you rent
you can get it from Canadian Tire.
Oh, they'll rent you a generator?
Yeah, of course. I mean, construction sites need generators for example, to set up lighting before electricity. So
if you're 15 and you walk into Canadian Tire, they're going to be like,
who's this kid? As a 15-year-old, you have to be pretty organized, and you might have to know some older friends that will help you out.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess at this point, what I've seen kids doing it here with like 2 monitor speakers and a subwoofer and running it. In Toronto, like one of the sound systems was operating using, they would buy up the basically batteries from wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Really?
That were no longer powerful enough to really make the wheelchair run, but they would give you enough juice to run your sound system for an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah, a friend of mine created a setup, and then another group of friends, Ghetto Blast from Ottawa, they run a sound system. They do a festival now, a free festival that is word of mouth, but the whole thing is run without any emissions. They charge their batteries during the day with solar panels.
Okay.
That gives them enough juice to run it during the day and during the night.
So this is a thing, zero emission raves? Is that a thing now?
It's not a rave, it's just them doing it. But it's not a thing. They've just been doing it like this for as long as you can remember. They've been like charging batteries so they don't have to use generators.
Wow.
So they don't have to have that sound of
in the background
and the smell and refilling. They're just doing it this way. And it's possible. I mean, like, the way to do it simplest way would be to get car speakers and car amplifiers because that works better with batteries if you're going to go the battery route. Yeah. You know, scourge the Kijijis and your marketplaces for basically old accumulators, old batteries.
Okay.
And you could, like, if you have a little bit of know-how and the way things work nowadays, man, you can teach yourself anything.
Yeah, it's great,
okay, like I work in construction. I'm a painter. I had an asphalt boss for a bit who was trying to fire me. So, like, at one point, he started giving me jobs that I've never done. Yeah. He's like, "You're doing electricity tomorrow." I mean, yeah, sure, I fucked up, but like, I learned. Yeah. Taught myself by YouTube. Next day, he's like, "You're laying down parquet." Okay. You know, I've never done it, but I figured it out, you know, and it's the same thing with these things. You go on YouTube.
You couldn't YouTube Fast Tracker, my God.
That was the thing.
That's
back then, my method of learning was getting, like, a track by Igor, for example, or, like, Bula or Splatter.
Like Igor?
Not the Igor with 3 R's, but the Igor that's, like, a hardcore pioneer innovator from Poland. Okay. Who did, like, you know, a lot of...
Let's get Metallica mods. Right, the lightning.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, I would get, like, the funny thing is, like, check
from
this
Mod
out.
Archive.
So when I was learning, at one point I found this guy, and I'll come back to the name. Oh, Mr. Tito. Okay. Anyways, he had this track called Speed Garage Tune, and it had cool bass sounds and cool drums. And then
I think I remember. Did he spell it capital T, small I, capital T, small O?
I think that's the same person, and that's actually DJ Skeeter.
I ripped samples from it.
Well, this is it. I saw this track, and I ripped the samples, and I made a track after going to a rave, and I was inspired, and I used the samples, and I uploaded it. Anyways, years later, me and Duncan were talking about, like, our old tracks, and we're like, let's remix one of each other's old tracks. Yeah. And I send him a track, and he sends me a track, and I'm like, "You're Mr. Tito?" He's like, "Yeah, that was my other moniker." I'm like, "The track I just sent you has all the samples from this track."
That's crazy.
He's like, "Yeah, it all sounded familiar." I'm like, I'm like, wow, what a small world, you know?
That's crazy.
But, like, yeah, back when the tracker whole thing, I mean, I spent some time doing, like, reviews online for Tracks in Space, I think, was one of the things. And these were, like, little web pages that had maybe 30-40 people uploading their XMs or mods, and people would, like, you had moderators who would like provide like a feedback, like kind of review of the track.
Yeah.
To like, you know.
You still use trackers? I'm saving that. I'm trying to. There's just so much to talk about. When we do the in-person interviews, they're always just crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have a tracker. I have a Renoise that isn't really my license. So I haven't really finished any tracks with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do throw in a sample and manipulate it with the old techniques of like, you know, sample offset, starting points, and just glitching it that way. But no, I predominantly have been using FL Studio since about 2001.
Okay. Wow.
Around that time, I started using 2000. I started using the Free Loops to make some sounds, because in trackers it wasn't really that developed. There wasn't that much you could do beyond the actual sequencing and effects via tricks.
You might be able to open an exe file.
Right, but it was like, you know, the other way you would just go in SoundForge and manipulate your samples that way. And some people made that their whole like
the first time
technique.
You find the flanger on SoundForge is mind blown.
The first time I figured out you can generate a sine wave and then put a pitch envelope and make it go pew. I got kicks. I think that was like I would make these 15-second long kicks. Yeah, with the long tail, just so I could like roll the pitches.
Do you remember Stomper? It was like a thing to make kick drums. It was basically the same shit. Anyways, so the kid has a generator, right? The kid has a generator. How does he promote it? Does he tell his friends, or he doesn't tell his friends?
Well, I guess it depends.
Because you don't. If there's too many people, you're gonna get busted.
I think you start off with friends, and I mean, in order to do it, I don't know. It's pretty hard to do it on your own, right?
Yeah.
It might be pretty tricky if you're an introvert and you don't have a group of friends that might be getting off, and you. But if you're like kind of turning your friends onto new things, and you've like you know, like keep your ear to the ground, and I mean,
so you don't want to be putting flyers all around the city because you get busted.
I mean, that's what we did for our first party. And we did get stopped a few times by the police and played dumb, and we were kids, and we got away with it. I mean, probably at this point, I would try and find others.
Yeah.
You know, and see how it's done. But don't be shy to like try something new. I find like there is less bravery as far as free techno.
Yeah.
No, like people don't have the you know.
Do you find people have the ambition to go out to even free techno parties now, or do you think sort of the whole introversion culture of just Netflix and video games and shit like that is competing?
Well, here a few things happened too in the recent, well, I guess maybe last 5 years. You might observe a decline. There was a swell after I came here to the city. Up until that point,
when did you move here? Sorry?
2010.
2010.
I made it a birthday present.
Okay.
And also because Rob Ford was running for mayor of Toronto, and he was talking about ending the gravy train, and I'm like, I made a stupid joke saying like, I'm going to a land where the gravy will never end because no one's gonna give up their poutine.
Okay.
And if Ford wins, I'm moving to Montreal. That sort of stupid joke. But I was really planning to come here.
Yeah.
And 2010, and so Neurotique, which was kind of like the main free techno of Montreal crew, started kind of maybe winding down around this period, 2010. And at the same time, 3 subsystems came into being. One being not being Techno-Agricole was already kind of around, but not really functional as a system so much. Techno-Agricole, Hard Times, and Basics.
When you say subsystems,
sound systems. Sound system is essentially saying a crew. Okay. A sound system is kind of, I mean, you're based around your sound. So, you know, your sound system is kind of what defines what you bring out.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the difference. It's sound system culture. It's about making your sound system grow.
Okay.
And when you're doing free techno, I mean, you're putting your own resources into it, or whatever anyone will donate, and so on. So it's so around 2010, 2011, these 3 new crews kind of filled the void from Neurotique and Techno-Agricole. The crew I've been part of since coming here, more or less, has been doing a lot of that, and for a while it was basically the 3 of us with some small free things going on, and and I don't want to say like it was just that because I might be unaware.
Yeah.
You know, just because I live in my own little bubble.
Yeah.
But we did some coalitions near the Rosemont incinerator, which was pretty epic. Like a more also, you know, the Rosemont incinerator,
No.
the big smokestack there by like Christoph Kolum and Rosemont.
No.
Anyways,
I've probably seen it.
Across from it, there was like a crazy industrial space that we did these 2 New Year's parties, 3
awesome.
rooms, like 1,000 people or so.
Wow.
No, it was maybe 2012.
Do you
14.
promote it or do you keep it secret?
It was all Facebook and online.
Really?
Really, yeah. Most of the stuff, it's not like in your face, and maybe the venue gets announced the day of the event.
Okay.
You know, or you get a message if people are paranoid about the spots. That's also been the case when we've used less than legal venues here in the city to organize relatively major parties with headliners and stuff. But you're using like the basement of a restaurant, you know.
Have you ever had to cancel a party with a headliner? With like a big headliner from out of town? It must suck.
I mean, I've canceled a party in the planning stages before it's been announced.
Okay, yeah.
So it was only depressing to the people who I've told who I wanted to play alongside.
Yeah.
So I've canceled a couple of events that I wanted or had been going underway. We've had to move venues to make the event happen.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't. I've been lucky in that sense. No one backed out.
So I think that's a good explanation for anyone who wants to start a party. Mm-hmm. You know, book Laf-o for your next.
You can write to me straight up. You know.
Yeah. So 2004. We're at 2004 right now. You're still in Toronto.
Yeah, and at this point in the breakcore world, we have basically Smirk and the other crew that popped up relatively along this time is Pink Socks.
Okay.
Which was a lot of friends from different groups who knew each other maybe from high school or punk events and different circles. Kind of like organizing these events where anyone could play.
Yeah. No
matter what you did. So we have bands, we had like experimental electronics, and it sort of was really cool that at some point, I think around 2004 to 2007, it was a really busy time.
Yeah. In
the month, you could have 3 or 4, 5, 6 sometimes things that between the different crews. And I think maybe 2004 is where Hear My Card Records popped up, which was a few of the artists and promoters from Toronto organized a label that was based on these mini card CDs and started throwing their own events. And for a bit, you had like Math Hooker with like Knife Hand Shop and Carl, who went, I guess, as Sincere Trade. And you had...
Because Knife Hand Shop, he was big at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, Knife Hand Shop was one of our, like, you know, as far as producers doing the mainstream stuff, but still like making it. I mean, he was like, I remember when he was doing all this, we were friends when we were 17-year-olds, and he was you know, getting booked in Europe or releasing vinyls on Tiger Beat, and even before, I think he had like tapes on Irritate or whatever it was, you know, and you know, we knew each other from the rave scene too. And I mean, like 2004, 2006, 2007, a lot of people started really like you'd show up at an event and maybe you didn't pay attention to who was getting booked and it's a name you didn't pay attention to. Like, for example, for me, I remember showing up at an event and hearing Hinder, you know, doing like crazy speedcore terror stuff which is like, wow, he killed me, you know. I was like, I thought I was owning that thing and having a bit of an ego there. And then I hear him, I'm like, wow, he's so fucking sick. Where the hell did he come from, you know? And it was like that. You could come to a party and learn new artists that were like, it was hot. Yeah. For not because it was popular, but it was like accepting and inclusive. And you could like, we started doing like free things on Sundays in Kensington Market, which is like right in a park there, with a bit of funding from University of Toronto to like do events.
Just in like the market, like on the streets, or there was like a venue?
There's a little park.
Okay.
We do set up. There's a little park in the middle of it.
Okay.
And we'd set up right there in front of like, you know, the playground.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some really funny scenes. you'd have kids playing, and like a friend was playing, Crush Kill was playing, I remember this, his playing a song is like, had a sample is like, I want to kill everyone, Satan is my friend, Satan is my pal.
Oh, yeah, that song, yeah.
Right, but I mean, you look over and there's kids on swings, laughing and running around, and that's in the background. And you're just like, this is pretty bizarre. I mean, at some point we had like a bit of a scuffle with people having a wedding at the synagogue, and they were getting disturbed with the music. But overall, it was like just breaking corn on the grill, and someone's playing old school jungle from records, or someone's doing a little live set. There's a mustache table, and it was just people hanging out. This era,
the vibe of parties, man.
Yeah, we would just, I made so many friends and people you just see, and we would show up at different parks and just set up 2 speakers for the afternoon, and then whoever wanted to play could play.
I guess I kind of asked this question a little bit earlier, but I guess maybe I'll phrase it a little bit different. Like, do you find that people kind of are more jaded because of like just life, and they aren't really, they don't vibe the same way, if that makes sense? It sounds kind of cheesy, but
no,
like,
to be honest, I am observing,
because there's kind of I don't want to say hippie vibe to outdoor shows,
in a way,
but there's like everyone's cool with each other's kind of thing.
Yeah, there's like, there was a lot of discourse of political nature between the different free techno crews, and it was in a respectful manner, and we all had different goals or ideals for why we were doing it. There was acceptance of that. Usually we didn't step on each other's toes and so on. Like, more or less, different crews would collaborate more because of similar goals or sound.
Yeah.
But as far as today versus then, yes, I am seeing that unfortunately people are squeezed more by realities of daily life.
Yeah.
And the idea of people meeting like 3 times a week to build something collaboratively for nothing or for zero benefit, like what is required to really build a sound system, is work for nothing. And like, if you're running these events and you're not doing it for profit, all the money that they make is to buy a new amplifier or buy a DBX limiter for your sound system, or replacing that 15-inch or 18-inch that blew, and so on. It's not easy in a sense, because the rewards are non-tangible in a sense compared to doing the thing.
But and you don't even see the rewards so much immediately. Maybe someone who's been doing it a long time, like you or whoever, our friends that we know. But I think to a new person, they don't. Like you said, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna make money off that. Fuck that.
This is it. It's a thing. You'll do an event, and a lot of the times you'll lose money.
Yeah.
You don't even break even.
To switch gears a little bit, was it around this time that you met D-Trash? That you started doing stuff on D-Trash?
I mean, I think Jay was around from relatively early time when Pink Sogs and Smirk and all these like 2001, 2002 things started popping up, and I started working with both Smirk. I got kind of adopted into them by Peter and Duncan, and I was also part of Pink Sogs. And like, I think 2002 we got Colin to come out from Montreal shortly after he moved here. That was one of the parties I did with Razor Edge with Adam. So like little small collaborations would pop up, where like part of a crew and another part of the crew would throw another event because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And Jason was there, I think, relatively early, along with a few other people that were organizing sort of like Squid and Razor Girl. They were doing I think a mailing list, and there was also labeled like bug scrolling out of people, and and you would have a merch table, and so any artist often could produce their stuff, and D-Trash was one of those things as well that became part of the mailing list, but also stuff that was a way for you to release stuff, and people took advantage of that worldwide. And the connections were made
pre-Bandcamp,
right, and the connections that they made, that's how I ended up on an Ambassador 21 compilation in what is it, Belarus, I think they are, or Latvia, I can't remember, I'm sorry. But I mean, it was just or like meeting guys from New Zealand and ending up on their compilations because they visited Toronto.
Yeah.
And they were looking on Soulseek, for example, for people on the Breakcore channel.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
The connections that were made, it was insane.
I remember I released, because I was doing the net label thing. I wasn't really into like I don't know. For me, it was all digital. I like StarCraft. I like computers. I was like, fuck my own.
This was for. I mean, I never like even. Right.
Yeah, So, but I remember being on the net labels. Every person that I would ever meet at a show or something, they're like, "Oh, like I heard you on D-Trash," and I was like, "Fuck, man, these guys have big reach." I didn't even know.
Yeah, I guess that was the thing.
And it's so nice because maybe in Poland and in Europe, you have like a history of electronic music, but in like Canada, I mean, we have Skinny Puppy and whatever was happening in Vancouver for a while, and then
you had the few bands in the 80s that were sort of like didn't quite make it, or the Spoons, I guess, for like it was sort of like the synth pop side of things. There was a few bands that were doing it, right? I mean,
so to have that label from Toronto supporting the underground electronic artists,
and it took me a while for my first release there because for me it was like I don't know. I haven't sent demos to big labels. So it was always like, I'm going to print CDRs and give them to people at shows, or if they want to pay me money for it. Yeah. That was my first album. And then the second one, I was like, we'll just use the Smirk name to promote it or to like release it under Smirk. Yeah. I mean, sure, there's been some releases on labels, but like all the main stuff, I try to kind of keep control over it so that I don't lose it. Yeah, especially now where you don't really need, God bless these people that represented us, but like we don't need that anymore so much, right? You just go on DistroKid, you put your thing, and it's on fucking Amazon and on everything, right? TikTok, it's on everything. And I think in a way that's great, but it is making it easier to get lost. But here's the thing, though. I feel like with DJs, we need DJs more than ever because, like, some people don't agree, but I think I don't have time like I used to when I was like to search. Yeah, to find all the new stuff. Yeah, and I don't even really have the ambition anymore. With the podcast, I'm always looking for new people and stuff. But even then, it's like when I was 15, I was like way more into it. I know, right? And this is it. So if you find like good DJs to like sort of follow, you could then kind of find out where the stuff is, right? Right. Finding people who are getting the fresh. Yeah. So I guess we have the history of Laf-o, right? And we're sort of more at the current stages. Let's talk about your releases. Like, how were you approached by labels? I guess you just said you were giving out CDRs before. Yeah, I mean, like the few label stuff that I have, I guess. Usually I try to work with friends. Yeah. So, I knew Jay and I asked him if he wanted a release, and that's how the 2012 came out. Well, you were just on the new Duran. Yeah, and we had Ed come through Toronto, and, we had maybe a few hours before and after the events while he was in Toronto, but we clicked. I don't know, I found him to be, like, a nice and honest and, like, wholesome person. Yeah. And it's the same thing with majority of the breakcore and all this side of things. People, they might have like crazy personas on stage, even, and then they're like the kindness, exact opposite of whatever you see online. I sit home and I fucking floss my teeth all day. It's hilarious, but that's like the experiences I had, and so I mean, I was really happy. I didn't realize in a way, like, sometimes you don't even know. Like, I looked up to, like, a lot of the stuff that Ed started releasing. Yeah. After, around mid-late 2000s. And, like, when he asked me if I wanted to make a remix, of course, it's, like, remixes are awesome. Yeah. Like, for me to make an original piece, I have to have that inspiration for it to just come out. Usually I don't force it, Yeah. Whereas with a remix, it's more like I hear a piece or track and I'll get ideas if I want to do something. I would have done or used this and build it like that. And so, it was great. And it's fun to collab too, I haven't had that many collaborations that I've completed. But a remix is a collab. But a remix is a collab. You're right.
Sort of,
So as far as that, yeah, I mean, right now, yeah, I'm preparing couple free EPs. One's gonna be a bit noisier and harder, kind of like the faster BPM breakcore stuff, and another one I'm kind of doing a drum and bass side of things that's more inspired by the events I had last year. Like I mentioned, I've been robbed in my studio and I lost a lot of stuff, and
sucks.
And then like instead of like being angry at girls that for whatever reasons ghost me, I mean I put that frustration into a song, and you know what I mean. Like, why be that guy? It's like, oh, you said like, oh, whatever. Just made a song, and I forgive because it's not even for me to forgive. I don't know what people are
Girls
thinking.
are like buses. If you miss one, there'll be another one in 5 minutes. Let me tell you.
There you go. But sometimes it's fun to write.
If any of my exes think I'm writing a song about you, you don't hold your breath.
Yeah. Well, I have had a number of nice songs.
I'm just joking.
No. What you do with your music and what I do, it's all to each their own.
Yeah.
I have gotten some nice, pretty stuff that I wouldn't otherwise write if it wasn't for the women in my life.
Emotion,
like the love. It's a real thing for me to feel, and I have translated or attempted to capture some of it into some of the prettier stuff I done.
Of course,
but somehow often I find like it's the stuff that really hurts or surprises me, and not in a pleasant.
Because all music it's weird. Music is just this weird thing that fucks with your emotions. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could listen to Crossbreed all day or whatever, but there's some songs that will just fuck you up. Like, I don't want to show my cards here and say any guilty pleasures, but we all have some stuff you never tell anybody you listen to.
And this is
and
like,
kind of go, oh. Like, even that Selected Ambient works too.
For example, for me, like, I was hanging out with this girl that I was close friends with, and we had a little thing, and at one point we were experimenting, and we drank a bunch of cough syrup, and it was I was all about the gabber, and like, she put on, I think it was Come to Daddy, the EP,
wow. Yeah,
and the cough syrup, like, made it really hard for me to walk without dancing.
Oh, wow.
And like, I mean, they're some of the songs on that album are pretty silly. They're emotional, but they're kind of funny. But they're really intense. And I was like, how is this hitting me so much harder than like a speedcore terror track going da, 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 da. And this is like, super kind of almost corny. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
totally
so oversaturated, like emotion. And my hair stood up and like, and I was like, wow, I kind of want to bring that into that hard sound. And that was like really a big inspiration for me to like try putting experimental, like going beyond like what is danceable.
Yeah.
And still like try and keep some of that. But
when you're, so now I'm going to get into the sorry, thank you so much for your time.
It's all good, man. I'm really happy.
This has been great. I want to, towards the end of this, let's talk about now. Let's talk about your future projects, but I want to get into the production a little bit. You were showing me your stuff, and your production is really good. It's mixed really well, and now I see your monitors. Maybe I'll go get the same monitors. I don't know, get rid of my Kyle KRK 5s or whatever. But I just went into the store. I was like, "What's $400?" The guy's like, "These." I was like, "Okay."
These ones are John Believes Lies.
Yeah, they're good. They're better. So you're using FL Studio?
Yeah.
Are you using mastering plugins? Like, what's your process?
Relatively speaking,
because you said you find it hard to get inspired to write a song.
Yeah, this is it. Like, I'll do exercises, or I'll sometimes create sounds for the most part for weeks on end. If I open it up, I'll maybe make a sound or two and save it, and then when I'm writing, it just happens.
Yeah.
Most of the best things I consider my best pieces, will be Friday night, and then it'll be Saturday morning, and I'm like, I do remember being present for all of it.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of making choices, but they're not hard choices. It just happens.
Yeah, they call that flow.
Yeah.
That's what the scientists call it.
And often it won't be till maybe I have a developed, structure and a lot of it written where I started realizing what it was that I was writing.
Yeah.
So if that's what I kind of really like about it. And I guess it requires for me to digest it enough that I can externalize it, or for me to get over things, or for me to maybe fully realize the lesson of life. I don't know. It sounds really kind of like pretentious, but in a way, it is that. Like
but
things happen.
I know it sucks that. Because when you say that, and I get what you say, because I used to say that, but then I don't know what happened. Something hit me a few years ago, and then I realized how important art, culture, music is. If 10 years ago you would have told me I was going to say that, I would have barfed. I would have been like, it's the cringiest shit to say. But I get what you mean. I really do. It's like a weird transcending emotion thing that you're doing. And when you're in the state making music, it's just, there's something weird about it. It's fucked up. It's like aliens from another planet beaming right into your head.
Pretty much things are pouring out. And some of these things that I've written have, surprised me with the effect it has on others.
Yeah.
I've written songs about someone who ripped me off, and I played it to him in an unexpected after party that he did not expect. Yeah. And he changed his life around. But then also playing a song at a party, and someone decides that maybe they can fly, and they jump into like a 4th floor chute.
Oh.
And you wonder if it was the music that caused them, or if it was, you know what I mean? Yeah. He was high, and he heard this was playing in the background.
Oh, wow.
And I do remember specifically at this party playing 150 BPM because everyone was playing like around that or slower.
Yeah.
And then I got bored, and I was like, I'm just going to play one of my tracks.
Yeah.
And I went from 150 to 230.
Wow.
And during this dark breakdown, this girl comes up to me and is like, stop the music. Someone just killed himself.
Oof.
And you're like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, if you could come up with something less harsh to tell me you don't like my music.
Yeah.
I really didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
She's like, no. He jumped into a chute, and that was like 2009, one of the last big raves that I played, like free techno parties at a recycling plant. And he jumped into the chute that was feeding the bin that had all the paper that was going in.
Wow.
And so it's basically like a rubber scarf that shot him down into a bin. And the guy was high on LSD, most likely, from what I remember the stories being. He didn't even twist an ankle.
How does that affect you?
I had a bad trip. I wasn't even high. That was I had contact buzz from a lot of people. There was a lot of acid at this party.
Yeah.
I felt it, but no, I did feel bad. It was like my decision to just like go against convention of a free party's like flow and just increase the beats by 80 per minute, and then immediately after someone decides that they're gonna do something rather risky.
Yeah.
I did consider that. It didn't stop me from doing stupid things like that in the future, though. After moving here, or actually just before moving here, I burned my bridge in a way with Nuratiga as far as playing for them, because I missed my time slot at 2 a.m. because of Modit. I drank too many.
Okay.
And I wasn't able.
Yeah.
And so
that's not fair. You want to drink too many.
No. So it's free party, and it's like, it's morning. I got my shit together, and I'm like, I still want to play. Like, but it's like 7 now. We're playing electro and like fidget. Yeah. Can you play smooth? I can play smooth.
Yeah.
Sure I could for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 15. And then I was like, hey, how about some 3-4 time current value? I've never seen 200 people move so far away from speakers so quickly.
Really? Yeah. It's crazy.
No,
he's good though.
It would have been great at 2 a.m. They would have loved it. But at 7, there's 50 people going crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the organizers asking me to like fix it, Yeah. So
what VSTs are you using?
All right.
For mastering, or you don't.
I don't really use anything special for mastering. I EQ and I use what comes with FL Studio, so I use Maximus.
Okay.
But I try not to use it too aggressively.
Yeah.
At this point, I've decided to use external ears.
Okay.
To do the final bring it out.
What do you mean external ears?
Like my last release, I used Zemo and Julian Stasma has released mastered some of the tracks I did for labels. So from now on, I'm bringing it up. I'll do my own quick masters for playing. But no, I try not to go that far. This is like the process where it's technical.
Yeah.
I use my workhorses are.
What are your favorites?
Oh, like I guess I made most of my bass drums in Microtonic.
Microtonic. Okay.
It's like a little 909 808
okay.
clone. That one I've been using for 15 years. Synthplant for making like cool evolving sounds.
Mm.
And then I use a lot of stock FL Studio stuff. Out of the more recent things, I really like Serum is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For like more organic but synthesized kind of things that evolve a lot. I like Raw from Papin.
Okay, I'm pretty sure.
Anyways, Raw is like
people listening will know. Sorry.
Raw is pretty cool for like getting a unique sound of distortion. It has 2 XY pads that do phase distortion. I think that's what it is.
Okay,
which is it just sounds different. And then I relatively keep it simple. Distortions? I use stock distortion, or the only one I bought was Trash too, which is awesome. A lot of things are simple: EQ, reverb, and distortion.
In the breakcore scene, in the breakcore game, when you're making, from my experience, the simpler the better, because there's just so much shit going on that it's too much
for more impact. I mean, that was the cool. I think what Trackers got really well was like gating sounds very precisely to make specific sounds stand out, and it kind of created that really staggered, very rhythmic, fast.
It's almost like ducking or something.
Yeah. And it's and Trackers are great. You just press tab on the channel, and it created a cut of the song.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get into a lot of effects and reverbs and distortions, and you're generating sounds, you don't actually have that control over volume.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, I will generate a lot of stuff in these synthesizers, even Citrus or Massive, or you name it. I've tried a lot of them, but since the last 5 years, I'm using only stuff I bought for releases, and it's like Zeta, Synthplant, Serum, and whatever comes with FL Studio. Then I have like few equalizers and a lot of IR for convolution reverb. That's one of my things.
That's awesome. The last production question, and then we'll move on to the releases, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Do you find you're hard on yourself? Do you find like you won't release something unless you're like super into it, or are you like?
Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the obstacles. Is I'll let it sit for a while till I'm happy, and sometimes it will go to a point. It will be there too long, and it will never get finished and never get released, and I might lose it with a hard drive failure or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's maybe one of the things that's holding back like prolific nature. Prolific method. I start a lot of stuff that after 5 hours, I'll literally will not even save the file.
Really?
I don't feel it. So I do a lot of things that I call exercise.
Render the wave, put it in your sample folder, and then use that sometime.
And I just use that as an exercise. So, and every time I start, it's start from scratch. I try not to. I mean, like now I actually made myself templates this year because I have 2 EPs to finish, and I know that if I don't check myself, they might not get done this year.
Yeah.
So I have a new folder and like templates for me to finish this. So going into like what you were saying, releases, I'm planning on a free EP for Infinite Warthogs Records, which is a Belgian free label for the most part. And that's going to be the neuro-ish kind of drum and bass side of things that I kind of played one of the tracks from.
Yeah.
And I'm planning to have that done by April. And at the same time, I'm slowly working for a release for Mopcore.
Yeah.
The
meme, we can't go 2 episodes without
hey, Joseph!
Yo, greetings from Montreal.
Since I'm shouting out, I'll also shout out to Laurent. Hey, man. So those are the 2 labels that have expressed their desire or interest in having my next 2 EPs.
Excellent.
And in short, but not like near term, there's also going to be sorry, Rob, I'm spilling the beans. We're gonna do a Break-a-Zerg, which is really a StarCraft samples turned into breakcore, hardcore mashup craziness that I'm planning on doing with Rubber Muffin. And I think I invited Will over here to do a track as well.
If you guys want it, I'll do a because I love StarCraft. So this is the greatest RTS. Well, next to Command and Conquer.
There you go. So that was the idea. Yeah. We're gonna do a StarCraft inspired thing. So I got 3 kind of EPs on the go, and I might have a few other little things that I don't want to spill yet until they're kind of confirmed and sure things.
Awesome. Yeah. Man, we covered a lot of ground. This man. This is one of my favorite episodes of done.
Thanks a lot, man. I have no idea how long we've been here. I know I drank
almost 2 hours.
Whoa. Well, I drank 2 big Coronas.
Yeah, 2 Coronas.
And you can probably hear it in my voice.
So, wait, before we go, we can wrap it up. Where can we find you? Is there anything else you want to mention before?
Well, you can find me on SoundCloud under Laf-o. And if you want to hear some of the other stuff I kind of do, which isn't really breakcore, I have a project called Swavtek, like SWAVTEK. I'm not very particularly active in it right now, but that's just for anyone who's curious. And on Facebook, you can find me under Laf-o. That's my page. If you message me there for any reason, I'm generally really open to meeting new people online and learning and sharing stuff. And what was the other part?
If there was anything else you wanted to add.
Oh, well, I just straight up thank you for the interview, and would like to thank all the friends that I've made along the way that really kind of push me or continue feed me energy and positive feedback and, inspire me to go. And I've lost some friends along the way, so shout outs to those mates like Optic and Belladon and Kills. Those guys were huge, and they went too soon, but shout out to everyone who's still going or wants to get involved. We don't have so many ways maybe to affect the big world, but actually we do by starting small and going, providing something around each other. So you and your friends could make a number of other people really happy. Why not?
I totally agree 1,000%. Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment. And stay tuned. Sorry, this is... Okay. Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Ciao.